Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Life According to Nikki.
Are we kidding? Oh my gosh, I love that.
You guys, I am very pumped for today's episode because I want to talk about traveling, and specifically my traveling hacks. I have some major ones, and I have some products that I cannot recommend enough. I am completely unsponsored, so know that this is truly coming from my heart. This is for the greater good of all of you and really my community of people in the world that get on planes, because I am about to change your life. And I mean that. I truly mean that. This is coming from a disabled girl whose personal hell is getting on a flight and having to sit in a very singular position with almost no wiggle room because I do nothing but wiggle. I have about 12 different things that I need when I go on the plane. Basically, I set up camp when I get on a plane. I'm bringing so much stuff, but I have it down to an absolute science, and I only bring the necessities. And I will tell you all of my tips and tricks, all of my secrets, also how to get cheap flights, because I am here for all of that. I think because I travel so much, people are under this illusion that I'm somehow rich. Let me bring you back down to earth. That ain't true at all. At all, in the slightest, inaccurate. But I will share with you how I create this beautiful illusion and how it all becomes possible. But before we get to any of that, we need to start off with our general housekeeping, my recent watches in the past week or so. Let's start off really fresh with what I watched last night, or I guess technically it would be this morning because I stayed up until about 1 a.m. watching this. I mean, that's what happens when you start something at 11:30 p.m., but you know, the life of a single girl. It is a privilege, and I do not take it for granted. I want you to know, every single time that I stay up past 1:30 in the morning, I think to myself, I do this for those who can't. I do it for all of those incredible mothers and wives out there that have to go to bed at like 10 p.m. at the latest, who are exhausted, who are taking care of a human child. I am just not at that stage in life, and I think it's really good to remind yourself of what you do have in whatever stage you're at. Because I think it's easy when you're single to be like, oh, wah, I want someone, to love me unconditionally. Because, that actually sounds pretty great. But in those moments, instead of just feeling bad for yourself for being perpetually single, how about you go, I could go to McDonald's right now. I could. No one's going to stop me. I could pick up and leave to another country tomorrow. Those are the privileges that I am endowed with at this moment in time, and I truly try and take advantage of them. I am very grateful for them, and although I would like other things and maybe a different lifestyle at times, I always come back to how incredible it is that I can stay up every single night until 2 a.m. with zero guilt, zero problems. I can take a nap in the afternoon. I don't gotta take care of nobody. It is actually unbelievably nice. So if you're single and you're not having enough gratitude, just check yourself. Be more grateful, is what I'm trying to say, because you could be in a lot of different circumstances that isn't this amazing, all right? Anyways, moving on to what I actually watched. All right, I watched Damsel, the new movie on Netflix with Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things. And before you even ask, I watched the first season when it first came out, and that was going to be a no for me. I did last until the end of that first season, but it had way too many things that affected my trypophobia, and I get terrible little nightmares. Think of your average 3-year-old that has like night terrors. Yeah, that's me. I am a lucid dreamer. I don't know if you know what this is. There's different levels from what I understand about it. I'm not an expert. I could really only tell you what I have come to gather over the years, talking to other people who are lucid dreamers and just like looking it up. For mine, I can control my dreams. So I'll have the same dream for usually a few weeks. I'll pick a storyline and I just kind of create it like a movie. And I'll daydream about it during the day. And they're extremely detailed. extremely. I could tell you what my dreams are like it was a film that I watched, because I kind of create it over a several week period until I have my finished product and I really like it. And then, I'll have a new obsession by that time. And then I'll just create a dream based on my newest obsession. It usually revolves around anything that I've recently read or watched. And then, when I'm bored or don't have a current obsession, then I'll just kind of like pick an old dream that I really liked and play it all over again, if that makes any sense. I feel like that's the best way for me to describe it. Now, this may sound awesome and cool, which I actually really love it, except the caveat on mine is when I am stressed in any way, if I'm anxious at all or just in a bad mood or something like that, when I go to sleep, I can't control my dreams, and they are terrible nightmares. They are really, really vivid, and I'm just really sensitive to any sort of imagery or anything creepy, gory, anything like that is gonna be a no from me. And I also have trypophobia. Mine is super severe, so it goes beyond just fear of holes. Mine is patterns or anything that looks abnormal. Claymation falls in that category. There's a lot of things that I just visually can't look at without gagging or wanting to throw up. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is, with Stranger Things, the upside down or whatever it was, even just the stickiness of it, I'm trying not to gag right now. I'm sick to my stomach just thinking about it. That is still in my nightmares. When I am stressed to this day, even though I watched that series years ago, I watched that first season, I will still have nightmares about just the imagery of that upside down world. Any sort of imagery that I don't like, that I find creepy or weird, it is permanently ingrained in my memory. I can remember things that I didn't like looking at when I was very young. I may not have childhood memories from that time, but I will remember my nightmares that I had. So because of all of this, I do have to be careful of what I watch. And I will say, the dragon in Damsel was on the verge for me. Do I believe that that's going to be in my nightmares coming up soon whenever I'm stressed? Yes, I do. But it wasn't so visually creepy that I couldn't watch it. Plus, it wasn't revealed the whole time, so I was okay. I do have a feeling that I'm going to regret watching Damsel for that reason alone. But as far as the film itself, I enjoyed it. I found it to be pretty entertaining. It's very simple. Oh my gosh. It was incredibly simple. As a plot, it doesn't take you very far, but you know what? I think that this movie is going to be the perfect plane movie. When you are on a flight and you haven't seen Damsel yet, I think that this is going to be a great one because it's just simple. There's not much to it. It's pretty good acting by Billie. I think she did a great job. And it was very entertaining. I had a good time. For my personal rating, I'm going to give Damsel a 6 out of 10, and I'm going to go with a 7.5 on everybody else's. I think that most people are really going to like this movie. I do. Now, I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch as much this week because I was out of town for 5 days. I went to Disney World in Florida. It was very fun. It was my first time there. And don't you worry, I took avid notes while I was in the park with all of my questions, and this week, I will be interviewing my friend Bethany, who used to work there. She was a cast member in charge of costuming. So unique, so cool, and I am beyond pumped to talk to her about all of my thoughts that I had while I was walking around the park. Stay tuned for that episode. That is probably going to come out next week. It is going to be so fun, and I'm going to bag a lot on Universal Studios. Just fair warning on that, because we did a couple days at Universal as well, and I had somewhat of a negative experience with their disability stuff. We will get into it, don't you worry. But, because I was gone out of town, I didn't watch as much as I normally do. But that did not stop me from watching an entire 16-episode Korean drama. Don't get it twisted. I definitely finished that while in the park. I watched Crash Course in Romance. Now, here's my history with K-dramas, okay? Back in high school, I watched my very first K-drama because my dad had seen it, and he told the entire family, hey, we should all watch this together. And it was called Spring Waltz. It was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. I was definitely converted to K-dramas in that moment, and my entire family loved it, and we ended up watching it twice as a family. My dad enjoyed it so much that he actually started subscribing to the Korean Netflix at the time called Drama Fever. So he was paying a separate subscription for this service. I love my dad so much. You know, he's where I get like my obsessiveness from. Once he likes something, he then learns everything that there is to know about it. He makes me look so average when it comes to the ability to learn something and to get into your niche. He takes it to a whole new level, and it's pretty awesome because not only did he watch all these Korean dramas, but then he learned everything there was to learn about Korea. But anyways, I really enjoyed that drama, and then I had watched a few others in high school that were pretty good. I don't remember most of them, to be honest. Then I just kind of fell off the wagon. And more recently, in the past year or so, I started to get back on because I have a few friends in my church congregation that are really into Korean dramas. So they started suggesting some to me. And what really got me back in was the series Crash Landing on You. Oh my gosh, this one was so good. The people in it were just so gorgeous. The ending pissed me off, but oh my goodness, it was so good. The one consolation I did get is that the two main characters, their chemistry was undeniable, and then I found out that they're actually married in real life and have a baby, and that they fell in love because of this series. So that made me feel really good. The ending didn't end how I wanted it to, but knowing that they are just in this, loving marriage in real life with a baby, I love that for them. Crash Landing on You, I would recommend. Crash Course in Romance, not so much. I just couldn't get into it. Here's the thing with a Korean drama. If you have never gone down this path, if you have no idea what I'm really talking about, let me break this down for you real quick. You know when I say the word Hallmark, if I talk about a Hallmark movie, we're on the same page. You understand that that is a separate genre of movie, that there is a certain formula that all of those movies have, right? You have the girl from like a big city that goes to the small town that falls in love with the farmer boy in plaid, and there's someone that resembles Santa in some way. You get what I'm talking about. And they're very feel good, and they are just a specific type of cheesy. And if you like that, you really like that. And even if you don't like it, you kind of like it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit down and only watch Hallmark. That's not really my style. Sometimes they make me roll my eyes a little too much, but other times they really are just so stinking cute. Now, Korean dramas or K-dramas, they are also their own category, much like Hallmark. But they have a different formula because obviously this is a foreign film, so it is going to have some definite cultural differences, but there are very specific niches in every K-drama. The unnecessary use of slow-mo, but somehow it makes the scene so much better because you don't just see the kiss scene from like one angle. You see it 12 times in slow-mo from every angle. And they are very innocent as far as sexual content goes or language because of the culture in Korea. When you watch a K-drama, you are on the edge of your seat for them to touch hands by the 4th episode. I mean, in America, our television, it's within, the first 5 minutes of a show. They're having sex, they're naked, it's this raunchy thing to prove that they're edgy and cool and whatever. It is not that way with Korean shows, and I really love it. I love that they have me just in this chokehold with their romance. They're a little whiny at times, the main characters, don't get me wrong, but when they finally kiss, it is the biggest reward ever because you waited so long for that. And then there's always these moments where they trip and fall and slow-mo into the arms of the person they love. You get the butterflies. It is just a perfect formula. They are definitely not American, okay? You can't go in with an American mindset. They are very unique in the way that they are edited and the type of music that they use and just all of that. A K-drama is worth watching. It is worth experiencing. It is just unlike anything I've ever seen, and they get me. Man, those plots reel me in. But here's where my problem lies, is that most of these dramas are 16 episodes, and they don't need to be. They could be so solid if they were just 12 or max 14. because they do the 16 episode format, sometimes they just drag on. And that's how I felt about Crash Course in Romance. The plot itself was finished by episode 14, but they had to still make 2 more hour-long episodes. So it just felt like they were grasping at straws to try and come up with a new plot, introducing new characters in the last 2 episodes. So dumb. And the chemistry between the 2 main people, not that great. I have also recently seen Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha. Didn't love it. They switched plots halfway through. It was weird. It started as this haters to lovers thing, but then the second that they got together, the main girl was so unbelievably whiny. I couldn't handle it. Did I finish it? Of course I did. But, I didn't want to. I didn't like it. The ending was cute, but it wasn't good enough for me. And then this one might be a disappointment to any K-drama fans out there. I did watch Strong Girl Bong Soon, and I didn't really like it. I didn't. I'm sorry. Yes, I agree the main lead guy was absolutely gorgeous, but the plot itself was a little too out there for me. I'm just not into sci-fi enough for me to get into that. So for me, it was gonna be a pass. I see why people like that one, but out of all of those recent Korean dramas, Crash Landing on You was by far my favorite. Moral of the story, if you have never experienced a K-drama, I think it's worth it. I think you should try it. Experiment a little bit. Dabble in it. And if you are the type of person that thinks that you can't handle closed captions and subtitles, I believe in you. Yes, you can. Yes, it's a little bit of an adjustment at first, but come on. It's not that hard. It makes you pay attention. That's why I am a closed caption girl. I can't watch without subtitles because I don't know what's going on. Even if the show's in English, it doesn't matter. I need those captions on. Otherwise, I'm distracted. I'm looking at my phone. I'm not actually listening or watching what is on the screen. And I like to be fully invested in what I'm seeing. That is something that Korean dramas force you to do because it's in another language. You kind of have to be locked in. Let's up our attention spans. Having, a 15-second attention span, I don't think that's healthy for us. I don't. I think being able to sit in front of something and watch it for an hour without getting on your phone is healthier than not being able to do that. I'm sure the healthiest would actually be not watching anything at all, but hey, listen, we are all at our own level, and right now I am proud to say that I can watch something for hours on end without having to also watch something on my phone, and I'm gonna take that win. Okay, everybody, I could do more of what I've recently watched or listened to, but I think I'm going to make this episode just a little bit shorter. We're just going to leave it with Damsel and Crash Course in Romance in your breakdown of what a K-drama is, and we're going to move on. Let's start off with one of the most unique things that I believe that I do that helps my travel day go so well. Okay, are you listening? Are you taking notes? This is about to just be $1 million information that I'm just handing out for free. Get gifts for your flight attendants. Here's what I mean by that. Every time that I have a flight, I will go to the dollar store and I will get those cheap little baggies. They're clear, they're pretty small, and I will put a thank you note and candies inside of these bags for my flight attendants. They are very easy to make. I've done them in a variety of ways. If I'm really planning ahead, I will print out thank you cards. Other times I do handwritten notes saying thank you for making my trip possible and thank you for all that you do and you're so great and blah, blah, blah. So I'll just write a cute little encouraging note. But if you're not feeling like doing that, handwriting, if that's too much work, you can just do one on Canva and then print it out and they all say the same thing. It doesn't matter. All roads lead to same top of mountain in this situation. The important part is it says thank you. You need to recognize this person and the work that they're doing. That's the key. And then I try and do candies that aren't normally bought. I try and stay away from chocolate because depending on what climate I'm going to or the time of year, sometimes that melts. I also try and stay away from nuts of any kind in case there's any sort of allergies. So candies that I go for are mints, especially butter mints. Those meltable ones that just everybody loves and you hardly ever get them. Chick-fil-A has those little butter mints, which just so you know, I have 100% gone into Chick-fil-A and asked them for an entire bag of their butter mints and they gave them to me. Okay? Never underestimate the power of asking for something. Because what's the worst that can happen? Someone can tell you no. That's fine, because then you end up in the same place that you were before without what you wanted. But I think people are so surprised how often someone is actually willing to say yes. Side tangent, whenever I'm on a college campus, I am popping into every single room that's available and asking for free things. This works every single time. I will literally walk around campus. I'm not even a student anymore, and I still do this, okay? They're not gonna check if you're a student or not. They don't care. I will ask them this question. Do you have free swag? And you can be specific too. I'll also ask, hey, do you guys have any free food? Because a lot of times they do. College campuses are just this treasure trove of free stuff, and you need to be taking advantage, especially if you're a student there. If you're paying tuition, you paid for that free stuff, all right? You paid thousands of dollars for it, so you need to be taking it constantly. You need to use it to your advantage, all right? I definitely believe in that. But I also just in general believe in asking for something that you want and being okay with being told no. It's all good if you don't say yes to me. So yeah, I'll go into a Chick-fil-A and say, hey, can I take all of these Buttermints? Do you guys have more? Most of the time they say, absolutely, my pleasure. They will give me more than what I'm asking for. I make cute little sex baskets for all of my friends when they're married because as a sex educator, I do believe that is my duty. I will go into Planned Parenthood and I will ask them for a bunch of free samples. They have lube, condoms, different protective things. I mean, you name it, they've got it. And they're all free. You can just go in and ask for that. And then the health department on any college campus, tons of free condoms and lube and things like that as well. And you get a very good variety as well. So fun life hack for you, especially if you're a newlywed and you're wanting to try out different stuff, just go to Planned Parenthood, go to a college campus health center and just ask for those things because they're available. Don't be afraid to ask. Anyways, I will get Buttermints. I will also do the caramel apple suckers because I feel like those just take everybody back to their childhood and they're really good. And then I'll usually do the Werther's caramels with the meltable caramel inside because those are delicious. And then Andy's mints as well. Sometimes I'll do sticks of gum. I don't know, it just depends. I try and do a mixture of minty things and fruity or like Tutti Fruities or Tootsie Rolls. Just candy items that aren't normally bought, but people will like to snack on them when they are available. Things that are non-meltable and easy to transport and they last a long time. That's what I'm looking for in these little flight attendant baggies. If you're just taking a standard plane that's not super large that has, like 39 rows or something, there's usually going to be 4 flight attendants and then 2 pilots. If you're taking an international flight, there are going to be a lot more. It depends on the size of the plane, but there can be up to 10 flight attendants and 3 pilots, depending on how far you're going. Just keep that in mind with how many you make, and then you'll always want extra because you also want to give them to the people at the counter and anybody that helps you with your bags or anything like that. Now, why is this a travel hack? Why would you do this and spend extra time and money to make these baggies? Few reasons. Number one, because it's awesome to be a good human, okay? We should just establish that. It's nice to make somebody's day. It's always fun. And I have found that there are 3 types of people that are the best people in the world to befriend. They are flight attendants, kitchen workers, and custodians. These positions are so overlooked, but they actually have so much power. Custodians have every key to a building. Your kitchen workers, they are the ones providing your food. And then flight attendants, they have all of the power to make your flight good or not. And no one thanks them. They have to put up with so much crap and everyone just kind of putting them on the bottom of the totem pole of respect when in fact they have very important jobs and it is actually really easy to make them happy. Just be nice. Going out of your way slightly to make these cute little goodie bags can pay off so much in the end. Let me give you some examples. Because of my back, I have a lot of specific needs when it comes to flying on a plane. I prefer to sit on a row where I can prop my legs up, which means I need to be where other people are not. Especially if it's a full flight, that's not always possible. But On some planes, in the very, very back, there's one single seat on the aisle where all the flight attendants sit, so they don't book that seat because it's for flight attendants. You know, if there's turbulence or whatever, they can still book it for a regular passenger. They just block it out and don't. But if I go up to the gate attendant and I tell him just a little bit about my situation and I say, hey, I have some nerve damage in my legs. If there's any way that I can be next to a free seat so I can prop my legs up, that would be really awesome. And most of the time when I've done this, they will tell me that there's nothing they can do and the flight's totally full or there's nothing. And I will thank them and say, that's totally fine. And then I will give them their goodie bag. Now, part of it, yes, is to be a good human, but also there is some stuff that they can sometimes do. You just have to be nice to them. Everyone's always trying to take advantage of them. But you know, if you give them a little incentive, then they usually, all of a sudden can find something for you. I felt the same way when I was in school. You know, I was a straight A student. My rule was, if you're going to cheat off me, you at least have to be nice to me. If you are rude to me in class, then no, I'm not going to let you cheat off of me. I'm going to block my test from you. But if you are at least cordial with me and like pretend to care for 5 seconds, then sure. Yeah, you know what? I won't block my answers with my arm. You can cheat all you want. That's on you. That's your choice. But I'm not going to stop you from doing it. I get similar vibes when I hand over that cute little treat bag. Just recently, last week, I went up to the attendant. I told him the situation. They said, I'm so sorry. The flight is entirely full. There's nothing we can do. I thanked him and then I gave him the little treat bag and I walked away. A couple minutes later, he calls me back over and he says, you know what? I actually moved a couple people around and here's an entire row just for yourself. So then I get on the plane. I get early boarding because I'm disabled. I get on first and I give all of my treat bags to all the flight attendants and to the pilots and stuff. They were so cute. They like came over the intercom and thanked me. It was really adorable. And every single time, without a doubt, they are so shocked when I give them these little treat bags. They act like I just gave them $500 each. It is seriously the smallest little thing, but they appreciate it so much. And they are so nice. So unbelievably nice to me. Okay, undeservedly. I really didn't do that much, but they will treat me so kindly. And they'll always ask what seat I'm in, what row I'm on. I have never had a flight where I have not been really well taken care of after I've done this. And I've been doing it for years now. My flight experiences have just been so good ever since I started this. I remember at first I was a little bit nervous, just, you know, how it would look to other people or just like they would think it was weird. Within my first flight of doing it, that fear was gone because they loved it so much. I've had multiple flights where I've been able to get the first class food in the economy seating. That's what most recently happened on my flight last week. I was in the very back on my own row with the flight attendants' emergency seating that of course they weren't using because they're up and giving everybody drinks and stuff like that. They checked on me first before they even put the card out. They were like, do you want a drink? So I got my drink before everybody else got their drinks. And I got extra snacks. And then the flight attendant says, are you hungry? And I actually told her, I'm good. I'm all right. Because it was only like a 5-hour flight. So they didn't do a meal. It was just snacks and drinks. Well, I tell her I'm not hungry. She goes around the corner and comes back out with the $12 meal that you have to pay for that she just gives to me for free. So nice. And then I get the first class snacks. Okay? It pays off so much to be nice to flight attendants. You guys, just make these baggies. Just do it. And then I promise you it'll be a life-changing experience. On my flight from Utah to Paris, I was able to get a 4-person row entirely to myself. And I got every single first class meal on that entire flight. That is 3 meals on that 10-hour flight to get there. All of the first class snacks, everything. They were so unbelievably kind to me. I will be honest, it's a little bit trickier for them to give you extra stuff if you are next to people. So it does help that I'm on my own row because then they can kind of give me stuff without other people going, hey, how come she got that? But if you go to the bathroom or something like that, I've had that happen before too, where I just got up to go pee and I was on a row with a bunch of people. They honestly weren't able to get me any seats that were free next to me. So I just had to kind of sit and suffer. Well, when I got up to go to the bathroom, the flight attendants saw me and then they gave me a bunch of, treats and snacks or whatever. It's something small, it's not major, but it really does make a difference for both me and I feel like for them. that we can just have this mutual kindness between us, and I highly recommend it to every single person, especially if you are trying to move seats or you need some sort of special accommodation or you want to get off the plane early because you have a very short connection to your next flight. Babe, bring treats for the flight attendants. Get on that flight, give them to everybody, and for every single flight attendant that you give your bag to, tell them your situation. If you do something for them, you have a much higher likelihood that they're willing to help you out. They get these requests all day long, but what they don't get all day long is someone being kind to them, all right? It pays to be kind. Now, I've mentioned before that when I get on a plane, I set up camp, because I do. I have multiple back pads that I use. I have a butt pad that I use. I will put all of this on the Instagram, but there is one item that is absolutely essential if you are going on anything more than a 4 or 5 hour flight, especially if you want to sleep. If you're on a red eye, those are my favorite flights. I love a red eye. If you are going across country and you're like, I can never sleep on planes, I want you to pause on that sentence and tell me if that's still true after you buy this one item. It is $20. It's so cheap. And I've gotten multiple different versions. This one is by far my favorite. This one works the best for my body. Again, I will put the link on the Instagram as well as a picture. It's an inflatable pillow. It is not just a neck pillow. Instead, you're able to blow it up and put your face in it and wrap your arms around it. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how game-changing this is. Two of my biggest issues on a plane is I don't know where the freak my arms are supposed to go. I need them to be like holding something. I need pressure. And then I also need pressure on my legs. So if I just have a regular neck pillow and I'm trying to sleep, the rest of my body doesn't feel enough weight on it, and I get so antsy and uncomfortable and feel like I have restless legs, but almost like restless arms as well. It's just unbearable for me. This pillow solves all my problems. You can do so many different positions with this one pillow. When I put the tray table down, and if I just have both of my arms down in front of me kind of folded and I put my head down to rest, I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but I feel like I can't breathe very well. I can only last in that position for 10 minutes before my chest feels really heavy and I have to sit up. It's almost like I'm leaning over too much. So I really like this pillow because it allows me to sit up a little bit higher, but I can actually rest my neck forward and put my face in this thing. And then it also has holes for your hands, so you can watch a movie using this pillow too. This will all make sense when you look at the picture. I seriously can't recommend this pillow enough. I have multiple of them because I like to share what I love with others, and I have had multiple of my friends use my extra ones when they came to visit me in Switzerland. I gave it to them before I left, and every single one of them said it was life-changing. That they were actually able to sleep on the plane and they were actually comfortable. They can't believe that they have never used this before. I'm telling you, it is worth the $20, okay? It is worth $200. It is so good. It takes 8 breaths to blow it up, and it's kind of funny because you have to wait until obviously you're like up in the air and established and stuff. You can't have it blown up with takeoff. But once we get in the air and I start blowing this up, people look at me like I'm crazy because not only do I have this inflatable thing, but I also have an inflatable footrest for when I have an entire row to myself, because then I don't have to just squish on the row all the way up against the seats. I can put the footrest and it will fill up the gap in between the edge of the seat and the seat in front of you. So that way I can kind of go more at an angle and I'm a lot more comfortable and I have more variety of positions. Can you tell I travel a lot? They're like $15, this footrest. I don't like to use it when I'm cramped in with other people just because it's a little too bulky. But when I have a free seat next to me, absolutely, I'm blowing that up. I was on a flight once back from China. I was blowing up all my stuff and putting my things down and like getting camp set up. And everyone was looking at me like I was a freak. But 3 hours into our 12-hour flight, so many people were asking me where I got all that stuff. By the end of the flight, when I was folding everything up, I had, no lie, 7 people ask me from different seats what I was using on that flight and how jealous they were of the different things that I brought. So sure, if you go on this flight and you're a little embarrassed to like blow up your little thing, babe, just give it 3 hours and everyone on that flight is going to be so incredibly jealous of you because you're actually going to be comfortable and they're not. Let them judge. Let them look. Because at the end of the day, they don't matter. Your comfort matters a lot more. The last item that I really want to focus on is leg compressors. So I wear very high compression socks. These things are just so hard to get on because they are so tight. But I wear compression socks to help with my blood flow in my legs because my legs are the most painful for me when I'm sitting for long periods of time. Long meaning anything more than like 30 minutes is very uncomfortable, and I'll start getting like restless legs. They'll get really crampy, but the longer I go, then my back starts hurting and it just becomes kind of unbearable for me to sit there. I need some sort of pressure or sensation on my legs to force blood flow, but also just to give my mind something different to think about. I have 2 leg compressors that are from Plasma Flow. I have a family friend that works in the medical device space, and so he was able to get them for me. I have looked them up on Amazon. I can't find the exact brand that I have on Amazon, but there are some other ones. But the key is to make sure that they are rechargeable and that you don't have to have them plugged in for them to work. Basically, I just Velcro it onto my leg. I just strap it around. It has a 10-hour charge, and it will squeeze my leg, not a ton, but just enough to give it some compression, and then it will slowly release the pressure. Then it'll blow back up for some compression and then slowly release. And it has, different pulses and stuff that you can choose from. That one's my personal favorite, but it'll just do that for the entire flight. It'll just go back and forth, squeezing your leg and releasing. It has helped so much with my pain. If you have restless legs at all, or you just need something on your legs, I highly recommend this. My dad has really restless legs, and so I finally convinced him to get some. And when he flew to visit me in Switzerland, he said that he will be flying with them forevermore. I'm so glad when I get to convert my family as well. I think my family is the most skeptical of anybody that I talk to. I don't know why that is, because they know how much I experiment with a ton of different stuff, and I'm not going to tell them about something until it's successful, but somehow they still don't listen to me. And when they finally do, they go, "Oh my gosh, this is perfect." And I'm like, "I know, I've been telling you for years." But whatever. Don't be like that. Just listen to me now and get yourself some of these if that's something that you struggle with on flights. Other just small things that I do to make myself more comfortable. I always make sure that I have my contacts and glasses case because I don't wear contacts on planes. They just irritate my eyes with all the blowing air. Earplugs, of course, and then multiple different types of headphones because sometimes my ears will get irritated with one headphone, especially if it's a long flight, more than 10 hours. If I have a certain type of headphone in my ear for that long, then it'll irritate my ear. Again, this may just be a me problem, but if you're listening and you're going, "Oh my gosh, I feel that same way, like my ear aches after a while," then it is really nice to have different types of earphones or earplugs with you. So I always recommend those, along with some lotion, because my hands always get dry because of the dry air, and then a bunch of different stuff downloaded. Audiobooks, movies. I mean, these are basics. I feel like anybody who flies even just once in a while knows these things, but I'm just saying them just in case you don't, because it is really important to have stuff downloaded to your phone where you're not going to have Wi-Fi. So have at least a couple different things, because you may bring a book for your flight and then may not feel like reading it, and instead would rather do an audiobook or a movie or a TV show or something like that. Or if you're on a flight that doesn't have TVs, if it's a shorter flight, it's nice to have it downloaded on your phone. And this has brought us to the conclusion, my last travel hack. I used this about 4 hours ago, so it's nice and fresh on my mind. I was trying to find a flight from Salt Lake City to Nashville, Tennessee. I have been looking at these flights for months, absolute months on end, trying to find a deal. I follow a site called Flights From Home. Highly recommend them, especially if you live in Utah County. I am on their subscription service. They do like a New Year's sale or a Christmas sale every year. It's really cheap to get on their email subscription. They will email you first before they post on the Instagram, so you have a higher likelihood of getting the deal, because sometimes on the Instagram, the deal's already taken by the time they post it. There are flights out of Salt Lake all over the world, and they try and find glitches or things in the system where it's really, really cheap or highly discounted flights. So I have been meticulously following them and looking at my email, trying to find a flight to Nashville, Tennessee, and there has not been one for months. And my trip is in 2 weeks, and so finally I'm at this point where, okay, I have to buy my tickets. But I can't find any tickets that are less than $700. I know I may look rich, but I'm not. And I just did a vacation last week to Florida. I don't normally do vacations this close together, but it is what it is. I can't justify dropping $700 for one weekend. I can't do it. So what did I do? I flight hacked. My number one recommended site for this is going to be Skiplagged. You can look up where you're going and see if your plane stops off in the place that you're wanting to get to. Because, for example, if I'm just looking up flights from Salt Lake City to Nashville, Tennessee, minimum $700. That's before taxes. That is before they calculate in all of those hidden fees. That's how much it was showing on, like Skyscanner and stuff. I cannot find a cheaper flight, and most of them are not direct flights either. So instead, I looked up every single state in the United States to see if there was a cheaper place either flying into Nashville or that stopped off in Nashville or Salt Lake. Stick with me here. I found a flight for $75 from Salt Lake City to Denver, Colorado, and then a $75 flight from Denver, Colorado to Nashville. So in total, for those two different flights that had a 3-hour difference in between, so I would be able to land in Denver, go back through security, do all of that was going to cost me $151 instead of the cheapest that I could find, which was $348 for a one-way ticket. And then I couldn't find any flights back from Nashville to Salt Lake that were cheap, but there were flights from Nashville to Reno that had their first layover in Salt Lake City. So that's the one that I went with. Now, this doesn't make airlines super happy. I'm going to be honest with you. You got to be tactful about this, and you obviously can't have any checked baggage if you're going to do this. But if you're just going for a weekend, like I am, I'm just taking a backpack. I don't even need a carry-on. I just need a very small amount of stuff on this flight from Nashville to Reno, and then when it stops off for my layover in Salt Lake City, then I just get off. And I don't go on the next plane. I'm very courteous, so I let them know that I'm not going to be on the next flight. That's where you can kind of get into some trouble, is if you don't tell them. And then, of course, they're like calling your name over the intercom and they're calling you, all that stuff. Just avoid that problem. Just, tell them you're not going to Reno. That is such a flight hack because that flight from Nashville to Reno was $200. Isn't that great? Oh man, I hated that I had to go through all of this work to look up a bunch of different states and different options and stuff. But in the end, all of my flights that I bought to go to Nashville for 4 days was $346 instead of the cheapest one that I could find, which was $698. So in the end, I do think it was worth the time because I saved half of that just from flight hacking. So the next time that you're wanting to go somewhere and you look at the tickets and every single airline, it doesn't matter which one, is so expensive, maybe try this instead. See if there is something a little bit more outside of the box that you can do to get where you want to go. I am going to end it there. There is so much more about traveling that I want to talk about and that I will talk about in the future, but those were just the top things on my mind that I felt like needed to be out there in the world on this podcast because I have used them in the last 2 weeks or so and they work every time. They are just life-changing information that I needed you all to know. You're welcome in advance. Let me know if you use any of these tricks and if they work for you. I can't guarantee that they will. Obviously, I have been on some flights where I took them all treats and, I wasn't able to get the seat that I wanted or extra snacks or whatever. But you know what I did get? I got to be kind to somebody. And I think that that's a win, irregardless of any other outcome. I have also done on international flights a $5 Starbucks gift card for all the flight attendants. Highly recommend that. Even if you don't want to do the candy or deal with that and, you can afford just like a $5 Starbucks gift card, every airport in the world has a Starbucks. That can also go a long way. You don't have to do the baggies or make them look cute or something like that. Just go on with a stack of $5 gift cards. It'll go a long way. Just make sure to say thank you when you give them out. Because that's the point, right? We're there to thank people that are unrecognized and that deserve our gratitude because Heaven knows I couldn't be a flight attendant. I could not deal with the crap that they have to put up with, and I am so grateful that they do it for me. Speaking of thanks, I want to thank all of you for listening to my thoughts on movies and travel, because this has been Life According to Nikki.